Hey guys, Felicia here. I am traveling this week, and so you are not getting a regular episode. You are going to get some straight to the point nuggets. I mean nuggets. So I'm really excited to bring you a shorter, condensed version of the show that focuses on things that you need to do or think about as you're managing your career. Let's start the show. Welcome to the Career Management Podcast for Black women. Yes, this show is for you. I'm your host, Felicia Ann Rose Anuha, also known as the Trill MBA. Why am I the Trill MBA? Because I'm going to keep it true and real with you about what it takes to make it in the workplace. Every week, we're going to empower you with the tips, tricks, and tactics that you need, not just to survive at work, but to thrive at work. Whether you're aiming for that promotion or you really have some crazy workplace stuff going on, it's gonna be okay. We've got you covered. Love our content? Subscribe, like, comment, and let us know what workplace dilemma you're going through. We want to go on this journey with you, and we want to see you win. That's why I started this show. Now, in today's episode, we are dropping gems to help you level up your career with confidence. Now, let's start the show. Hey guys, I'm still traveling, so this is going to be a short episode. Don't have a listener letter, just going to get to the point. We have less than 30 days to this election now. Do you have a plan? Okay. I'm not asking you who you're voting for. I'm not telling you who to vote for. Do you have a plan to vote? It is very important that we exercise our right in this country that we live in to go vote. So go vote early if you can. The lines are probably going to be pretty long. We already know in certain states and particular counties, there's going to be challenges to get your vote in. So let's get it done, guys. I try not to really get into politics on this podcast because I feel very strongly about a lot of things, and it can be very polarizing. And I need us to stay focused on the controllables. The controllable is you can make a plan to vote and then you can go vote. One of my criteria for friendship is that you, one, must like to eat. Two, you must love to laugh. And three, you must vote. And if you don't vote, if you believe you don't have a reason to vote, if you think that your vote doesn't matter, let me be the person to tell you, if you have gotten any value out of this podcast, that you matter. Your vote matters. There will be very few votes that make the decision, and every vote counts. Your vote counts, period. And we need you to vote. Now, as a proud member of the Divine Nine, you can already guess who I'm voting for. I'm going to keep it in the family. But that's not the reason why I'm voting for Kamala Harris. I transparently am concerned about the rhetoric that is coming from that man who shall not be named. And it scares me, to be honest. And I'm not stupid. I'm not blind. I think critically. Listen, there's things you can pick apart. There's things you might be able to support on on either side, right? Nothing is perfect. But when you get to talking about people with bad genes need to be eliminated or something, it's just crazy. Like, first of all, anybody who says the words grab them by the pussy, all I ever think about is somebody has to come to that workplace. And if you said that, then how do you treat the women that work around you? How do you treat people who you think are lesser than you or in a lower station than you supposedly, or whatever, like that thought process? How do you treat them? And if you can say such ugly things and on purpose mispronounce Kamala Harris's name, question her ethnicity, all the things that we've all dealt with at work. Watching this election can be very triggering if you have gone through work trauma as a Black woman, as a woman of color, as a woman, as a non-binary person, as anything that's not a tall, charismatic white guy, but preferably with blue eyes and blonde hair, because this is what we have created in this country, that's the prototype for, who just inherently is thought of as great business leader. Listen, here's what I've learned. I have learned that you cannot change people's minds when they're not open to seeing something different. A lot of us humans are running on emotion, and we are running on passed down information, and our collective level of critical thinking is lower than what it was in the past, unfortunately. We have so much information at our fingertips, yet we have so much misinformation at our fingertips, and we don't ask any questions. That feels right. And it feels right because we're running old tapes. And every human being is susceptible to this. Every single one. The biggest example, and then I'll explain how this plays out at work. The biggest example that we saw recently was when Ta-Nehisi Coates was on the CBS morning show with Gail and that cute Black guy that used to play football and the white guy. I think his name is Tony and Nate. If I get it wrong, sorry guys. I don't watch it all the time, but I know my best friend Gail, right? So they were interviewing him about his new book, which I'm excited to get because of this interview. And in this book, it's not just about the conflict in the Middle East between the Israelis and Hamas and Palestine and all these other countries around Israel. It is about, from what I took away, I haven't read the book yet, but it is about his lived experience when he went to Israel and what he experienced and witnessed in real time. And I don't know what's happened to us as humans when we get upset about somebody sharing their lived experience. And Ta-Nehisi Coates masterfully, and we can all take notes and practice at work on how to respond when somebody vehemently and critically feels attacked for us communicating our actual lived experience. Because this happens to us at work. And it makes you feel like you don't have a voice. But I'm here to tell you, you do. You have to learn how to be masterful at communicating with and through human emotion. And one tool that is very helpful, and I say it all the time, this book, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. And this says it was $15. You can get this on Amazon for like $10 or something like that. Like, this book, the reason why I go to it is because it breaks down in a very real way how to communicate to other human beings that are highly emotional. And it does it very well using anecdotes. The anecdotes are very much outdated, clearly, but it still holds true to human emotion. And so an example of what Ta-Nehisi Coates did in that interview was to stand his ground while being clear, empathetic, and very much understanding in a way. I think the expectation was that Tony was going to confront him about what he wrote, and, you know, you made the Jewish people in Israel seem like horrible people. And I'm paraphrasing, but no, like, we know the story the mainstream media has, and two things can be true at the same time. You can be attacked by a terrorist group as a country, and you can also, within that country, dehumanize other human beings in that country. America, we've experienced 9/11, we've experienced Unabombers. We clearly have an issue that we're not talking about with all of these mass shootings. So there's clearly a systemic issue here that nobody wants to talk about, but there's just an issue in this country. Yet and still, we still have systems and forces that are oppressive to certain groups of people. That's just true. It's outside of our home. Anytime you walk outside of your space, sometimes to your yard, but definitely on the way to work, when you get to work, you're going to experience different things in this life as a human being presenting in a certain way, because we have a society that is running on old tapes. We're all running on old tapes. We're all guilty of it. So how does this affect you in the workplace? And what does this got to do with work, Felicia? Everything. Unless you learn how to communicate with your coworkers in a way that makes them feel seen and heard, and where they can understand where you're coming from and still come at the end of conflict or disagreement or friction, and still have them say, okay, I'm going to invite you to the meeting, this meeting, that meeting. Like, you can still garner a level of respect and maybe gain some understanding. You win. You win every time. And it's taken me my big age now to really get outside of myself to figure that out. And it's hard as a human to look outside of yourself. And what I mean by that, because I've said that before, but I want to really talk about what does that mean and what does that mean at work? What that means is we get so myopically focused on what we have to do, what we have to accomplish, our goals, our this, our that, and what can we control, and, you know, all the things that we're doing to have a sense of safety. We're scurrying around. We're doing all these things to figure out where and how can I create a safe space for myself to know that I have done what I was supposed to do and I'm okay. And in that, we get so, as humans, we get so myopically focused on that we forget to look up and say, okay, I understand my world, but how does my world impact other people's worlds? Or how do other people's worlds impact my world? And we only ever really pay attention to how other people's worlds impact my world. We never think about, well, how is my world impacting somebody else's world? And it's the people who can think through all of that before they execute anything, before they speak on anything. Those are the people who are the best communicators, because then you're communicating for impact and you're not communicating just to be seen, feel seen, and be heard. And as humans, we're so busy running on emotion. Like, we are driven by our emotions. And I don't care how logical we are. A lot of times we have an emotional response and then we use our logic to justify that emotional response. Very rarely are people truly logical. And a lot of times those people who are truly logical are cast out of the tribe because they're logical to a point. They're really truly logical that they discount emotion. And so those are the people who bluntly tell you the truth and they don't have any awareness that how they said it or what they said hurt your feelings. And then you low key are like, I probably shouldn't be mad because they didn't lie. They're telling the truth. They're very literal, but it didn't feel good. And so therefore, because it didn't feel good, I don't have to be okay with it's their fault on how they said it because it didn't feel good. Logic to justify the emotion. We're all guilty. And when you go to work, these are the people you're working with. And if you can work on, that's the executive maturity, right? And I know a lot of times we get, people try to use executive maturity, again, in a very emotional way, not in a very helpful way. And you get that feedback. And a lot of times people say, oh, that's bullshit. Probably 80% of the time, it's probably right. And 20% of the time, it's probably bullshit. And that 80% of the time has a range of where it's how they told you that you feel away. But honestly, like, I think about when I was more junior, and again, I just want to be promoted. I want to be the CEO. Who's going to groom me to get there? Like, I need somebody to teach me and I'm going to take over the world because I'm that girl. Like, I'm ambitious and I could do it. Like, you just need to give me a chance. And so I got feedback that saying that I wanted to be the CEO of the company as a junior marketer, that I lacked emotional intelligence by saying that. So that my initial reaction is, that's bullshit. But in actuality, what I learned was the reason why there was a question about my emotional intelligence there is because I didn't look up to think about how me sharing that impacted the person or people I was sharing that with. And everybody's running on emotion and everybody's running on ego. And so if you are a junior person and you tell your boss, I want to be the CEO, you're basically saying like, oh, you want to be my boss's boss's boss? Who you think? And then immediately the reaction is, who the fuck you think you are? Slow your roll. And mind you, I always said, I want to be groomed for leadership. My ambition is to be the CEO. And then, there's a tinge of racism in there too, right? Because I feel like if I was a white man saying that, that would have been more embraced. That would have been like, oh, we love your ambition, pat on the back. But here's this big black woman talking about she want to be the CEO of this company who's never had anything but a white man CEO. Who the fuck you think you are? right? Like that's the reaction. And because I didn't recognize that reaction, the feedback has some fairness to it. Because emotional intelligence is about communicating for impact and understanding the impact of what you're communicating and how it lands. And are you being effective with your communication? And so I think if you get that feedback, the question you should ask is, can you help me understand the behavior that I exhibited that led to this feedback? And get that explanation. And listen, don't be defensive. Don't be defensive. I know it's hard, but listen for understanding and try to see if you can see this other person's world. Because if you can see the other person's world, I didn't say agree with the other person's world, okay? I'm not saying agree with it. I'm saying, but can you see it? Can you see their emotion or, their supposed logic? Can you understand it? Because when you get underneath it, now you know how to talk to it. Now you know how to communicate with it. And you become the most powerful being when you get there. It's like you unlocked a new level. And so communicating for impact instead of communicating to be heard, that's when you know you've unlocked a new level. And it's not easy. Why is it not easy? Oh, I'm glad you asked. It's not easy because at the core of every human, in our humanity, in our basic humanity, is a need to feel seen and feel heard. And in order to get to that next level of unlock mentally and emotionally, you have to deny yourself that need. You have to refocus your need to be heard with understanding the person you're talking with, their need to be heard, and what they're trying to communicate, and making sure that you understand their intended communication versus how it's landing on you. So it's kind of like you have to stab your ego and tell it to go sit down. That's hard. As a human, we're taught deep in our DNA, we know self-preservation. And part of self-preservation is being seen and being heard and standing your ground and having your boundaries and all these things that we do to feel safe. And so it's very hard to walk outside of that need for safety, to look around and seek data and information. So I want you to practice over these next couple months. And I want you to lead with curiosity, especially when you get feedback. And I want you to take the parts that are helpful, and then I want you to analyze, right? And this takes some real doing. Like, you can't just do it on emotion and rationalize it. Like, you have to really sit and say, okay, I may not like nothing this bitch done said, but is there a thread of truth here? If I'm honest with myself, is there something here? Is there a reason why my behavior was perceived that way? Is there a reason why they took that way? Like, is there a way for me to understand this? Because then once you understand it, you can then communicate a different logic set to them. So for example, I like to drive my narrative, and I tell people, hey, if there's ever a time I say something and it rubs you the wrong way, come talk to me, tell me, because I guarantee you I was in the zone. I was in business mode. I was not I was just speaking to be heard, and I'm moving fast. And sometimes it can come across that I'm short and I'm very direct. So I might sting you with my words, and that's not my intention. I have the utmost respect for you. I love working with you, and I need you to come talk to me and tell me how you're feeling, how it impacted you, what I said, so that I can understand and I can work to adjust. Not going to be perfect. I'll work on it, just out of recognizing your humanity. And it takes a lot to say all that. It takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot of emotion. Quite frankly, it's quite annoying. I'm being honest with you. I shouldn't have to explain myself, right? That's the feeling. And then you have to kill your ego. And you have to work that narrative in. And the narrative you're driving is, oh my God, this person is the most empathetic. They have the biggest heart. They care about the people. They care about this organization. One thing I'm going to tell you, pretty much every organization I've worked for, most of my cross-functionals, especially the CPG companies, all my cross-functionals at every CPG company I've ever worked at loved me. Why? Because I wasn't for the shits. And I wasn't going to allow these people to get shitted on. I needed them. I depended on them to execute. They had the subject matter expertise, and I didn't. And I respected them, and they knew that. And so sometimes I had to push back. I had to deliver, news from goofy leaders. But a lot of times I'd be going toe to toe with my leadership. Never had a problem doing that. Probably why I'm not the CEO, though. Yeah. Because again, I was so focused on fighting for my team that I didn't pay attention to how I was showing up and impacting my leadership. Yep. Those are some tough lessons. But this is why I'm here. I'm here to share these lessons with you so that you can go make some new mistakes, girl. Go make new mistakes, okay? Don't make the same mistakes I made. Go make new mistakes. Please, 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 please. Because there's so many mistakes to make, and we can all learn. And then write me listener letters about it. And so we can learn more and we can grow more. But at the end of the day, to sum this up and get out of here, 1, communicate for impact. Get outside of yourself. Seek to understand. Be curious. Ask questions of curiosity. Really try not to be sarcastic. Some of us, talking about myself, can have a sarcastic tone, even when I'm not meaning to be sarcastic. Like sometimes I'll be like, okay, now, no, come on now. What's really going on, right? Like I'm guilty of asking that. And I don't mean any judgment, but again, intention versus impact, right? And the more you massage that muscle, the more you build that muscle, the better you'll get at it. So get the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. If this man was alive, I'd make him come on my show, even though he probably don't like Black people. It's okay. And really get into, the ways that you can work through and think through how to communicate with people better. Communication is a superpower that everybody can have. And it may take some work, but I guarantee you that effort and time spent figuring out how to say what needs to be said in a way that feels good for people, because we all run off of emotions as humans, you'll win every time. I don't care what race you are. I don't care what gender you are. I don't care how you identify. I don't care what buckets people put you in. I don't even care about the old tapes running in their head. When you get to the heart and minds of a person, it's magic. It's the art part of marketing. It works. It really, really works. So with that said, I'm going to get out of here, guys. I appreciate you guys. I wish that you have gotten your voting plan together. You're going to use your voice and you're going to dig into understanding how to be the best communicator you can be. Okay, so those are the actionable takeaways from this episode. I will see you guys next week. Well, guys, that's a wrap on another great episode of the Career Management Podcast for Black women. Yes, girl, this show is just for you. We're here to tell you how to play that chessboard at work, girl. So, subscribe, comment, like, follow us on social media at Trill and BA Show. Listen, every time you tell one of your friends, you share this information, you share this podcast, it helps us to grow and make even more dope content just for you, unapologetically. That's why we're here. Now, if you are facing a workplace dilemma, such as a performance improvement plan, or you're not able to secure your promotion and raise that you have worked for and you have deserved, basically, if these people are playing in your face, we are here to help. Go to trillandba.com/coaching to schedule a one-time one-on-one call to workshop your specific dilemma with me. Or schedule a consult to get more information about the consulting packages that I do offer on a longer term basis. As always, you can reach out to us with your listener letters and your questions at trillandba.com. Until next time, guys, focus on your best possible outcome. Ask for help when you need it. Please, please, please ask for help. And as always, keep it trill. I'll see y'all next week.